All right, let's get right into it. Is sugar the villain it's made out to be? Is it totally harmless? Or is the truth somewhere in the middle? You and I, we're constantly hit with all this confusing advice. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise and get to the real science of what sugar is and how your body actually handles it.
I mean, come on, we've all heard this, right? A million times. It's probably the single most common piece of nutrition advice out there. It's simple, it's direct, and we all just kind of nod along like it's a universal fact. But is it the whole story?
You can probably guess the answer. Nope, not even close. The real story of sugar is way more nuanced, and honestly, it's a lot more fascinating than just slapping a good or bad label on it. To really get it, we first have to understand what we're even talking about.
Okay, so let's start at square one. Before we can break down how your body processes anything, we've got to get our definitions straight. Because you know what biologists call sugar and what we see on a food label aren't always the same thing.
See, when we talk about sugar in a biological sense, we're really talking about just one type of carbohydrate. And that whole category, carbs, it's huge. It includes the sugar in your candy bar for sure, but it also includes the starches in a potato and even the fiber in your broccoli. So the big takeaway here is that context is everything.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Simple sugars, they're these tiny little molecules. Your body can absorb them almost instantly. Think of it like pouring gasoline on a fire, a quick, fast whoosh of energy. But starches, they're different. They're these long, complex chains that your body has to work to break apart, which gives you a much slower, steadier burn of energy.
Now here's the twist. Your body actually needs sugar to survive, specifically a simple sugar called glucose. This stuff is the premium fuel for your brain, for your muscles, for pretty much every single cell you have. So far from being a poison, glucose is absolutely essential for you to even function.
Okay, so if glucose is fuel, what happens after you eat? Where does it all go? Well, your body has this really brilliant storage system. The easiest way to think about it is like you have a couple of fuel tanks that it's always trying to fill up first.
It's a really straightforward three-step system. Step 1, glucose from your food hits your bloodstream. Step 2, your body immediately sends that glucose to top off its main fuel tanks, which are in your liver and your muscles. And step 3, only, and this is the key part, only when those tanks are completely full does your body start converting the extra overflow into fat for long-term storage.
So your first fuel tank, the smaller one, is in your liver. It can hold about 100 grams of glucose, which it stores as something called glycogen. This is the critical reserve your body uses to keep your blood sugar nice and stable, especially between meals.
But the main depot, the big one, is in your muscles. They can store a massive 400 to 500 grams of glycogen. That's a lot. And this is the energy that powers pretty much all your movement, from just getting out of a chair to sprinting. Together, these tanks give your body a huge buffer for storing the carbs you eat.
And this is where we get to the most powerful, most empowering part of the whole story. The one thing that completely changes the entire equation of how your body handles sugar. Exercise. This is the real game changer.
Okay, so under normal conditions, for most of your cells to actually use the glucose floating around in your blood, they need a key. And that key is a hormone called insulin. Insulin basically unlocks the door to the cell and lets the glucose come inside to be used as energy.
But check this out. This is the amazing part. Muscles that are actively working, like when you're on a walk or lifting weights, they have a secret back door. They can pull glucose straight out of the bloodstream without needing any insulin at all. This is a unique biological superpower. It's incredible. So when you exercise, a few awesome things happen. 1. Your muscles are burning through their stored glucose for fuel, which empties out those fuel tanks and makes room for more. 2. Your body's overall ability to store glycogen actually gets bigger. And 3. All your cells become way more sensitive to insulin, which means your whole system just gets better and more efficient at managing blood sugar. So what does all this science actually mean for us? What's the big takeaway? It means we can stop thinking in terms of fear and restriction and start thinking in terms of strategy and balance. It's not just about what you eat, it's about what you do with that fuel. This leads us to a really practical question, right? If exercise is what empties out our fuel tanks, then is there a perfect time to eat carbs to refill them?
You bet there is. The absolute best time is right after a workout. At that point, your muscle fuel tanks are low and they are just primed to soak up glucose from your blood like a sponge. That sugar goes exactly where you want it to go, to refuel your muscles for next time, instead of ever having a chance to overflow into fat storage.
And that just perfectly sums up the core idea here. Sugar itself isn't the enemy. It never was. The problem has always been about context and quantity in our lifestyle.
A dessert eaten by someone who's active is handled completely differently by the body than a constant drip of sugar into someone who is sedentary. Balance is literally everything.
So I want to leave you with this thought. We spend so much time and energy stressing about every single ingredient we eat. But what if we've been asking the wrong question all along? What if the most powerful tool you have for managing sugar has nothing to do with what you're cutting out and everything to do with giving that fuel a purpose? What if the real key isn't just what you eat, but when you move?
Subscribe for more healthy tips. Your brain and body will thank you. Hit subscribe now.